Welcome back to the Future Strong podcast.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about something that I think a lot of people experience, but we don't talk about very much, and that is loneliness.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I think we all feel from time to time. But I was really surprised to learn that there are 42 million adults over the age of 45 in the U.S. alone that are dealing with chronic loneliness.
Wow.
So it's a really prevalent issue.
Yeah, it is. And it really has a big impact on both our well-being individually and as a society.
And it's easy to kind of think of loneliness as just like a feeling, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually much more than that.
It is.
When you really look at the science.
Yeah. Loneliness can be as harmful to our health as smoking or obesity.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a ton of studies that have shown that it weakens our immune system and increases inflammation. It also can lead to serious health problems.
Like what?
Heart disease, stroke, diabetes.
Wow.
So
Yeah. It's really affecting us on a physical level, not just like an emotional or mental state.
Yeah, and that's because we as humans, we're social beings.
Right.
And so our brains, they're wired for that connection.
Right.
And so when we experience isolation, our bodies react as if we're facing a threat.
Interesting.
So it really does affect us on a physical level.
Okay, so our bodies are kind of telling us something's wrong. Like we need this.
Right.
This interaction with others. But then also there's, of course, the mental and emotional impact.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Loneliness can cause anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, even cognitive decline.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really serious. And it creates this vicious cycle where, feelings of isolation lead to withdrawing from social situations, which then just reinforces those feelings of loneliness.
And then it's just funimation. And it gets worse and worse.
Exactly.
And I think what's also really important to remember is that loneliness can affect really anyone.
Right.
It doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
Based on age or background or social status.
Yeah. A lot of times we think about loneliness as affecting older people.
Right.
People who are socially isolated. But really anyone can experience it.
Absolutely.
Even people who, seem to have it all. They're successful in their careers, they have families, they have lots of friends, but they can still struggle with feelings of loneliness.
Right. And there's actually a really well-known example of this. Stephen Fry.
Oh, yeah.
Very successful author and actor and comedian.
Right.
Really struggled with loneliness.
He did. And he even attempted suicide at one point.
It's really a reminder that success on the outside doesn't necessarily mean you're happy or you feel connected.
Absolutely. It shows how important it is to prioritize those genuine human connections.
Right.
And really nurture those relationships that bring us joy and meaning and a sense of belonging.
Yeah. It's so easy to get caught up in, all the stuff of life, building a career and making money and, all the doing. All the doing. And we kind of forget about our relationships and the people.
Right.
In our lives.
Right. But in the end, those are really the things that matter.
Yeah. So we've kind of established human connection is like the antidote to this loneliness.
It is.
So where do we even start?
Yeah, that's a good question. It can feel overwhelming to think about tackling such a widespread issue.
It is it's a big problem.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin?
I think one of the most important things is to really cultivate self-awareness.
Okay.
So paying attention to our own feelings of loneliness, and not judging them, just acknowledging them and understanding what triggers those feelings.
Okay, so if we don't understand what's causing us to feel lonely, how can we fix it?
Yeah, exactly. So one thing that can be really helpful is mindfulness, taking the time to be present in the moment and notice our thoughts and feelings without judgment.
And that can help us understand ourselves better.
Yeah. And there are a lot of different ways to practice mindfulness.
Like what?
Like meditation, journaling, or even just taking a few moments each day to pause and check in with yourself.
So it's about creating space to think about how you're feeling. I feel like that's really hard in our world today.
Yeah. It's a busy world.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's important because once we have a better understanding of our own needs and our triggers, we can start to make choices that foster connection.
Like joining a club or...
Yeah. Or attending a community event. Or just reaching out to a friend that you haven't talked to in a while.
Okay.
But sometimes the answer isn't about seeking out social interaction. Sometimes it's about connecting with ourselves in a deeper way.
So you're saying even
Right.
If you're alone, you can still feel connected.
Right. If we don't feel comfortable in our own company, if we're constantly seeking external validation, then even when we're around other people, we might still feel lonely. So it's really about cultivating a sense of inner peace and self-acceptance that allows us to truly connect with others. It's like, you know that saying, you can't love someone else until you love yourself.
Right.
It's about self-acceptance and self-compassion and a sense of inner peace.
Okay, but how do we get there? What are like some concrete things that we can do to like nurture that relationship with ourselves?
Well, as we talked about earlier, mindfulness can be really powerful.
Yeah.
Taking that time to be present in the moment, to observe our thoughts and feelings without judging them.
Okay.
That can help us understand ourselves better.
And that self-understanding can then help us accept ourselves.
Exactly. When we stop fighting against ourselves, when we learn to embrace our imperfections, that's when we can really start to connect with ourselves and with others.
You know, this reminds me of a quote by Sylvia Plath. She said, "Even when surrounded by others, we can sometimes feel deeply alone." And I think that really speaks to that, loneliness of the soul, that sense of disconnect that can exist even when we're physically with other people.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that true connection goes beyond just being physically present. It's about feeling seen and heard and understood.
Yeah, and I think that starts with seeing, hearing, and understanding ourselves.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the science of loneliness and how it impacts our health.
Right.
And some of the societal factors that contribute to it and some things that we can do about it. But how does all of this affect us as a society?
Well, widespread loneliness has pretty big consequences. It erodes our sense of community, it fuels polarization, it diminishes our capacity for empathy and compassion.
So it's not just bad for us as individuals, but it's actually damaging to the fabric of society.
Exactly. When people feel isolated and disconnected, they're less likely to trust each other, less likely to cooperate, less likely to engage in civic life.
And that lack of trust can lead to a lot of problems.
Right. Absolutely. Political gridlock, social unrest.
Yeah. It creates a vicious cycle.
It does. Loneliness breeds mistrust, which leads to further isolation. And the cycle just continues.
So how do we break that cycle, it seems? Kind of impossible to tackle this on such a big level.
It is a complex challenge, but I think there are things that we can do. I think it starts with shifting our cultural priorities.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think we need to move away from this hyper-individualistic mindset, that glorifies self-interest above all else. We need to rediscover the value of community and compassion and interdependence.
So it's less me and more we.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our well-being is tied to the well-being of others. And when we care for each other, when we invest in our communities, when we create spaces for genuine human connection, we're not only combating loneliness, but we're also creating a more just equitable and fulfilling society for everyone.
I love that vision, but how do we actually make those changes? It feels like we're up against some pretty powerful forces.
Yeah, we are. But I do believe change is possible. I think it starts with awareness, having conversations like this one, challenging the status quo, and advocating for policies that prioritize social connection and well-being.
So like investing in public spaces.
Yeah.
Supporting community organizations, promoting policies that encourage work-life balance.
Exactly. It's about creating a society that values human connection as much as it values economic productivity.
Yeah. And it's really recognizing that investing in social connection isn't just like a nice thing to do.
Well,
it's essential for us to be well as a society.
Absolutely. A society that prioritizes connection is a society that is more resilient, more compassionate, and ultimately more successful in the long run.
Right, because if people feel connected and supported, they're more likely to thrive.
Exactly.
To contribute, to be innovative.
It's about tapping into that collective wisdom, creativity, and resilience of our community.
And remembering that we're all in this together.
We are. None of us are immune to loneliness.
Right.
And we all have a role to play in creating a world where everyone feels a sense of belonging.
That's a really important message.
Okay.
It's something that we can only overcome if we work together.
Exactly.
We need to create, what did you call it? A culture of care.
A culture of care.
Yeah.
Where it's okay to admit that we're struggling, where we reach out to each other, and where we prioritize connection over competition.
I love that.
Yeah.
It sounds like the antidote to this whole...
I think it is. It's about fostering a sense of radical empathy, where we see each other's humanity, where we celebrate our differences, and where we recognize that our interconnectedness is our greatest strength.
Yeah. It's about remembering that we're all part of something dearer than ourselves, and that our well-being is tied to the well-being of everyone around us.
Exactly. It's a shift in perspective, a shift in values, and ultimately a shift in how we live our lives.
And it's a shift that we really need to make.
We do. We've spent too long prioritizing individualism and competition. It's time to rediscover the power of connection, the joy of community, and the beauty of shared humanity.
That's beautifully said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. It really is. And it makes me think back to something you said earlier about self-awareness.
Right.
Like before we can create that culture of care out in the world, we need to kind of cultivate it within ourselves.
Absolutely. It all starts with that inner work. Taking the time to understand our own needs and triggers, our own patterns of behavior. And that self-awareness is really the foundation for building healthier relationships with ourselves and with others.
And it's a process,
yeah,
right? Like it's not like you just become self-aware and then you're good.
Right.
You have to keep working at it.
It's a lifelong journey. And it's not always easy, but it is so worth it. Because when we know ourselves better, we can navigate life's complexities better, and we can create those connections that we crave.
And I think that's a really important message for our listeners. Loneliness it's a real thing.
It is.
But it's not something that we have to just suffer through.
Right.
Like there are things that we can do about it.
Absolutely. And it starts with taking that first step, acknowledging our feelings, reaching out, seeking connection. It takes courage, but it's the path to a richer, more fulfilling life.
And to anyone listening who's maybe feeling lonely right now, just know that you're not alone.
You're not.
There are people who care about you and resources that can help.
Yes.
So please reach out.
And remember that even small acts of kindness can make a big difference. A smile, a listening ear, a helping hand. Those things can really brighten someone's day and help them feel more connected.
So true. We all have the power to make the world a more caring and compassionate place.
We do.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise. This has been a really great conversation.
It's been my pleasure, and I hope our conversation will inspire people to think about loneliness differently and take action to create more connection in their own lives.
I think it will. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Future Strong podcast. We hope you found this conversation about loneliness helpful.
And remember, even though we might feel alone sometimes, we are all connected in this human experience. So let's try to create a world where connection is celebrated and nurtured.
And we'll leave you with that thought from Sylvia Plath. Even when surrounded by others, we can sometimes feel deeply alone. What are your thoughts on this? What helps you feel connected to something bigger than yourself? Share your experiences with us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time,
stay strong.